I've actually been a behavioral therapist for about 10 years. I know how long have you been married?
David.
You're listening to the Nacho Kids podcast, where we discuss all things step-family related. Real stories, real people, real help. Your hosts are the creators of the Nacho Kids Method and the Nacho Kids Academy Step-Family Coaching Team, Lori and David Sims.
For those that did not know, David just came back from Japan.
Da-da-da. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't say that, while you're around because you don't want me to have fun without you.
Nobody ever said that. I wanted you to have fun. I was not going with you again.
You told me not to get any massages while I was over there.
I don't even know what to say. Let's talk about the haunted trail.
So the haunted trail was interesting. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't really a haunted trail. It was more like I went to see a couple of my sons in the military and spent, most of my time with one of them because the other one just got over there. So he didn't have time to be off. But anyway, he wanted to see this haunted shrine, really. I guess he found it on Google. And so he looked it up. There's this haunted shrine out in the middle of nowhere, which I didn't know it was out in the middle of nowhere until we get there after dark. And the taxi driver dumps us out at the end of a dead end road.
Okay, so you didn't know before you went that that's what it was.
I mean, I didn't know that it was isolated in the middle of the woods. I thought every shrine I'd been to that point, was fairly public.
Would you have still went?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I felt a little bit better for a minute that you went and did something crazy like that, but then never mind.
Yeah, I think it added to the effect because he didn't want to go until it was after dark, which I was like, well, yeah, because, ghosts don't come out at daytime. So.
Oh my gosh. That reminded me of the time that we put flour.
Oh yeah, that's a story.
In the house in front of us.
Well, yeah, we'll have to save that one for another one.
Yeah, we will.
So we get there and it was literally I think they call it a Shinto shrine or Shinto shrine. I don't know. And it was out in the middle of nowhere in the woods. And it was kind of creepy. It was very creepy because it was pitch black dark in the woods. And
y'all, I wouldn't even walk in the woods behind my house with a flashlight in the dark, except for pumpkin hunting night.
Yeah,
that's a whole other subject too.
Yeah. So I'm in the woods, deep in the woods, in the dead end of this. It's not really a neighborhood. It's more like a street in a different country, not speaking the language. What could possibly go wrong? But the creepiest thing was that when we got to the shrine, because we had to kind of walk through the woods to get to it. So we get to the shrine, and there's an owl sitting at the shrine on a post.
He sent me a picture of it, and I thought it was a fake owl.
I thought it was fake. When I saw it, I was like, oh, somebody put this thing there. And then as I'm walking toward it, it starts moving. I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing's real. I've never seen an owl sitting on a post, or typically we see them around here. They're up in the trees and they're away from people. I mean, I was within like 10 feet of this thing, and it just sat there, and I was like, that's kind of creepy.
That's really creepy. So here you are, you and your oldest son.
Yep.
In the middle of Japan, somewhere in Japan. Do you even remember the city?
I think we were on the outskirts of Osaka, maybe.
Okay. Don't know where that is. And it's not like there's people there taking money for you to come visit the shrine.
No, it's not an attraction. It's like one that just was forgotten about. You ever been to those cemeteries where people just forgot about them? They're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, okay.
It was like that.
All right, I'm starting to understand this a little better. So anyway, I'm just glad that my husband's back and not dead in the middle of some woods at a shrine, a haunted shrine, attacked by an owl.
Yeah, you weren't concerned about that. You were concerned about me bringing back demons or something. They're going to attach themselves to you and you'll bring them home.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, then it'll be like your last relationship.
Actually, that is what I said. I was worried about, something attaching to him and him bringing some funk back from Japan.
Yep.
All right. So now that David is back, we are finally getting this podcast thing rolling.
Yeah, I know. And you've been interviewing people like crazy.
I know. I'm really excited. It's been frustrating. Not going to lie.
Mm.
Not going to lie. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll be ready when we get the groove going with the podcasting.
Yeah.
All the bugs worked out.
Yep. We'll get it.
Yep. We'll get it. So I've thought about something, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when before Jackson was born, or before I got pregnant with Jackson, I'd almost decided I didn't want kids.
Mm-hmm.
I had wanted them before, but then I traveled a little bit, and I enjoyed traveling, and so I was like, maybe I don't want to have kids. And then something happened and got pregnant.
Something happened.
And
you have no idea what
decided to, be a mommy.
J-Folk.
And anyway, so I understand where people can go from wanting kids to it's not really that important, or I'd rather do other things. And our guest today is a childless stepmom by choice.
Wow.
Yes.
So you were a stepmom by choice. So you knew what you were getting into.
Oh my gosh. For those that do not know, that phrase is like somebody hit me in the head with a frying pan.
Yeah, don't say that to a stepmom.
No, that is on the list of 10 things not to say to a stepmom. Check out the blog. I'm sure I wrote a blog on it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, though, that you have no kids, or she has no kids, and then she chooses to marry a man that does have kids.
Mm-hmm.
That dynamic has got to be crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yep.
And then on top of that, they have been married 10 years.
Woohoo!
Exciting.
I know. So
together 15.
So they've learned some stuff.
Oh, she knows some stuff.
Yeah.
She's a smart cookie.
And we're going to hear about all that.
That's why she's in the Nacho Kids Academy. Because she's a smart cookie.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Cool. So let's get to talking.
Get to talking.
You want to get to talking?
Yeah. Let's hear what we had to interview her about. And so who is it? Who are we talking to?
Her name is Rebeccah.
Okay.
She is a behavioral therapist.
Oh.
Yeah, she's smart too. She's a smart lady. And like I said, she don't have any kids by choice.
Okay.
And she's awesome. She's awesome. She's good. She's got a lot of good insight and experience. She's got an awesome laugh.
Yeah.
I love her laugh.
This is the interview we did where I asked a couple of really stupid questions.
You always ask stupid questions. It's just a matter of whether I edit them out or not.
All right, great. Well,
there's a reason this is not live. And the reason is, did you listen to the first few seconds of this? David and his inappropriate, you wouldn't let me have a massage in Japan. See, he's already forgot about that.
That's not inappropriate.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, cool. Let's move on to the interview.
Okay.
There is a way to save your sanity and your relationship, and it's called the Nacho Kids Academy. In the Nacho Kids Academy, you will learn the skills and knowledge to properly nacho, techniques to handle step-family challenges, ways to improve your communication, and much, much more. Visit NachoKidsAcademy.com and sign up today to join other step-parents who are seeing the life-changing benefits of nachoing. Again, that's NachoKidsAcademy.com.
Let's welcome Rebeccah to the show.
Hello, Rebeccah.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. So we're going to learn a little bit about who you are and what you have to deal with day in and day out.
All day, yes.
So let's get some demographics out of the way so the listeners know kind of, who you are and whether they can identify with you and all your challenges. So first question I have for you is, how long have you been blending?
My husband and I have been together for 15 years this month, actually. And we have been married for 10 of those 15.
Woo! Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm not really new.
You're not new.
That's good. You're one of the rare percentages.
not shiny or new, but that's okay.
Okay. So you got married when you were 15.
Correct. No. I mean, 29. Yeah, I guess. Close enough to 15. It's fine.
Yeah.
Close enough to 15. Yeah. All right.
I'm
So,
a multiple of 15.
yeah. I can't tell you how many times we've had her 39th birthday.
That's okay.
You'd lie.
That's okay. I'm on my
Rogue.
second 39th birthday, so we're all good. But
There you go.
There we go.
second one.
All right. So tell us, how old are your stepkids?
He has 2 boys, and they are 19 and 17.
Oh, yeah.
So they were young when you came into the picture.
Yeah, they were not quite 2 and, or I'm sorry, they were not quite 3 and 5. They were 2 and 4, not quite 3 and 5. We're like a few months away. So young. Yes.
Right. So,
And there's definitely benefits to that.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. I'll agree with you there. Maybe.
So, maybe. That's all you know. So, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Do you have any kids of your own?
I do not. I am actually what they call child-free by choice. So I had no kids, and that was on purpose.
And okay. So it's not unusual that the stepmom doesn't have kids, but it is kind of unusual that you've been married to the guy for so long and you don't have any kids. And
That's
you
true.
started so young.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that was by choice both ways as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, as much as people like to say that I should have known what I was getting into, well,
Oh my God. Please don't say that.
he also knew what he was getting into. He knew I did not want kids. And so he also knew, and he decided to go ahead and opt in and keep me. So,
So you had already decided that before. It wasn't like the stepkids drove you crazy and it freaked you out and you decided not to have kids of your own.
I decided a really long time ago. I think I was probably about 12. That was when I started babysitting, and I was like, oh no, this is not the life I wish for
That's so
myself.
funny.
So,
One of my stepsons swears he's not going to have kids.
go ahead and I'm not going to lie, it's pretty sweet. So,
So Rebecca, how many cats do you have?
oh, cat? No, you said cat.
How many cats do you have?
I wish I had a lot of cats. I have 0 cats. Actually, I have no cats as much as I would like to have one, but my husband and I have not come to an agreement on this. He's not allergic or anything. He just doesn't care for cats. But we do have 2 dogs. I do have 2 dogs. So,
All right. I knew there were some kids somewhere.
yeah, I have fur children. Although people sometimes get annoyed when you call them that, but I do have 2 dogs. Yes, and they are my babies.
Oh, no. We've got a dog we got her 4 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, I think this year's
And
5.
all David's kids are boys, and my son's a boy. of
Oh,
course.
man.
My son's a boy.
Yeah, my son's a boy today. And
Oh, my Lord.
You just know.
and we got a female dog, and we call her our dogter.
That's right. Oh, yes. That's what we call we have 2 dogs, a big one and a little one, and the big one's a girl, and that is the dogter.
Yep.
Is the dogter. And,
Yes.
Peanut is a Chihuahua, and he is the fur son and the OG in the house. He's like a little old man who just can't be bothered with anything at this point.
So he nachos everything pretty much.
He nachos, pretty much 100. He does not nacho the mailman, I'll tell you. So he will definitely not nacho the mailman whatsoever. We always know when the mail's here.
That's a good thing.
It is.
Okay, so we have a couple of stepkids in the picture.
Yeah.
And do we have what type of visitation schedule do they have?
Well, the court order was every other weekend, and it started off as every Thursday night, and then it sort of moved to every Friday night. It's generally one night a week, and every other weekend is what the court order says.
All right, so we have a bio mom that's in the picture.
Yes, she is the custodial parent.
Okay, and how's that?
I can't lie. It could be a whole lot worse. It could be a lot worse. I don't see her a lot. I don't see her a lot. When we do see each other, we're fairly cordial. I wouldn't call her high conflict at all. I I have other issues with her, but none of them really to do with me so much.
Right.
The most obvious one is definitely I absolutely couldn't agree less with her parenting style, but again, they're not my kids. So what she does is up to her, and I can't control what goes on at her house. So I don't try.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But I'm sure your husband probably doesn't like her parenting style either.
No, not really. He doesn't really care for it either.
So a lot of times what we see too is we see, even though these two people were together at some point and they had kids together and their parenting style was probably similar, once the separation or divorce or whatever happens, usually somebody decides they're not going to follow the same rules. And then there becomes this big divide between the two bio parents about how they're raising their kids.
Like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that theirs is so Grand Canyon-y, but they definitely don't. There's a lot of areas they don't really meet. You know, so he definitely takes issue with how she's parented. He's not really shy about telling me about them, and I've heard a lot. So I pretty much agree with him. I pretty much agree with him on a lot of points. But you know, they don't hate each other either. They, like I said, she's not super high conflict. They're totally capable of actually communicating with each other in like a civil manner, which is also pretty lucky, I would say. I cannot remember the last time they had a fight, to be honest. And I'm usually around within earshot, which, you know, my husband's a yeller. So,
yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, it really could be a whole lot worse. So
yes,
I'm aware I'm lucky.
It does get easier when the kids start getting older because they start driving, or they can start asking the questions they need to ask, and you're not put in the middle as often.
Or they can say, "I took Tylenol at 4:00."
Yeah,
seriously. I mean,
right? Yeah, you don't have to. So there's not as much communication that has to happen between the step parents, you know, than there was earlier. So let's find out, because this is where the fun starts coming in. What was some of the hardest parts that you had during the blend? What did you struggle with?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I started off one way and I've just wound up so completely another. You know, I was 25 when I met my husband. He was not quite 31, pretty close. But I went in with this whole attitude of, you know, oh, I'm going to like contribute so much and I'm going to do so many things. And I had all these grand plans in my head about, I'm going to help them with their homework and I'm going to go like this, you know, I'm going to go with them to soccer games and all this stuff. And, you know, I don't really want to parent, but I feel like I really want to be a good influence, and I'm going to cook sometimes, which is like something I never ever do. So they should have just like, you know, taken what they got it. That's a whole other thing. And kind of like just realizing, oh, this is absolutely not going to happen the way I thought it would.
So you wanted to be the mom you never wanted to be?
No, she wanted to be the friend. She wanted to have the perks of it, not the discipline part.
Exactly. Well, I'm really good at discipline. That's the thing. Because it's literally what I get paid to do. So I get paid to tell parents how to raise their kids. It's amazing. But that didn't quite work.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
So, sure. I'll just give you a little background. At the time when I met my husband, I was 25 and I was teaching preschool. So even though I don't have kids and I never wanted kids of my own, I enjoy kids and I like kids and I see the value in contributing to, you know, their education and things like that. And I had a well-run classroom. And so I actually have a bachelor's in psychology and I have a master's degree in early childhood special education. So they would give me like all the difficult behavior cases and things like that because I was equipped to deal with it. And then I decided that I wanted to just, you know, like up my game. So I decided to become a behavior therapist, which is what I do. It's what I do now. I've been doing it for about the last, I want to say, I think it's been almost 5 years. So
Okay.
I just work on the behavior end of things. Now I'm not in the classroom anymore. And I'm actually going to test in May to get board certified to be a behavior analyst. So I work with all kinds of kids, like
All the time.
all the time. I mean, anything you can imagine.
Difficult kids.
Yeah,
Not
difficult
easy kids.
I mean, I've got some kids with some pretty severe behavior issues,
Mhm.
and their parents, obviously, needing the help, actually pay me to come in and help them parent their kids with these really severe issues. So that's like my everyday, basically.
That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, I've actually been a behavioral therapist for about 10 years. I know how long have you been married?
David.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to tell you what I've been.
Your correlation in there? No.
I've been a myriad of things.
Yeah.
You have been a mess, that's for sure.
I did not say mess.
Mess and myriad both start with M, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So would you say that your training and your education has helped with the blending, or is it kind of the other way around where you were struggling with blending and it kind of spurred you into wanting to learn more about behavioral science?
I've always been really interested in behavior, even just going back to being a kid. I mean, I remember I'm an oldest child, so I don't know, it just sort of came naturally. My parents would recruit me to get my younger siblings to behave sometimes, but
That's funny.
I joke that I already raised my kids, but they turned out really good. They're all really good. It's funny because I think it was up until pretty recently, I'd say it was kind of a problem because I thought, well, I have the knowledge, I have the skills, and the fact that pretty much, I hate to say it, but like nobody really cared to capitalize on it. And it was really frustrating for me. But, in the last couple of years or so, I've kind of just come to accept that it is what it is. And then I've like really Nacho supremed, basically, really. And I just sort of zen out. I'm like, it is what it is. And they're going to do what they want. And it's not up to me because I'm not their parent. And they're not paying. Their parents are not paying me to tell them what to do. And so
That is true.
Once I kind of figured out that my input was sort of neither desired nor required, it was like a weightlifting. I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to work and then come home to the exact same work. I can dig it. That's fine. I'll come home and I'll be myself, and I will not have to stay in behavior therapist mode when clearly the stakeholders, meaning the parents and the grandparents, just were not interested. So that's okay. That's fine.
Right.
Once you come to that realization, it's freeing.
It is. That's exactly what it is. It's freeing. You're like, well.
It is. And like, I'm not kidding. I felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. And I mean, I felt the exact same way. And, I was I went in as this young upstart 25-year-old who, 25-year-olds think they know everything. And then they always got to say something about something. And, if not me, then who? And I'm going to just be like this super stepmom who, like, maybe Oprah will pick up on it and she'll make a movie about my life and call it Super Stepmom. And it just, yeah. And then you
were just going to rock this out. Yeah.
And then you just kind of grow up some.
Yeah. You lose those expectations and you realize it's okay to not have any.
Exactly.
You just have to go with the flow and find what works for you. And, and it changes daily. I know. With having 4 stepkids, is that right? 4, 1, 2.
Yeah, today.
You didn't
4
use one.
stepkids.
I mean,
no,
you didn't actually sell one, right? I mean,
no, but you know what happened? We used to always have to count when we had the kids. You'd see us count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the time. And
like Home Alone.
Yeah. But just depending on their mood and your mood and how they responded to you, or you could just tell they were just not receptive to any type of engagement, and you just avoid the triggers, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, it was really hard for me to keep my mouth shut.
Still is. Don't let her fool you.
I'll admit it. I'm not perfect either. There's definitely times when I'm like, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am one of those people who, like, I'm not really a yeller, and I don't like picking fights, but I will definitely make the snidest of comments once in a while. And, just like, that's interesting. Really? So, I see where he's thinking this. And, I mean, we've had like quite a few recently. His 17-year-old is kind of like getting ready to graduate high school, and he just got his driver's license not so long ago. And there have definitely been some situations where I'm like, really? Huh.
Well, but see, the way I look at that is because I'm kind of doing the same thing. I've disengaged fully or Nacho Supreme for a year. And when I say Nacho Supreme, I mean, I did not interact with these kids unless it was an absolute necessary, or if they asked me something, it was go ask your dad, or I'm not sure, you'll have to ask your dad.
I'm quite sure your dad has all the answers.
Yeah. And then over time, I started re-engaging with certain aspects, and sometimes it wasn't good. And sometimes I realized that, okay, I'm not ready to re-engage in that aspect.
Yeah.
And then other times I'd be like, I'm not going to engage. But it seems like the longer we've been together, I am more comfortable saying things than I was even 5 years ago.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I'll tell you, being in Nacho Super Supreme with like extra jalapenos and some sour cream and guacamole, like the tri-colored tortilla chips that are very, very fancy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Mac Daddy.
That is just so bougie, but I love it. It's sort of like offered more opportunity because I was so I'm still like pretty disengaged. I'm like still Nacho Supreming, but whereas maybe a few years ago, if I had said something, my husband would have been like, that's pretty mean. Or he only did the, you don't like my kids thing once, and he never did it again. But never
It's like a story behind that one.
Yeah, that sounds like a story.
Oh, yeah, it was the worst fight we ever had that he swears he doesn't remember, which I think is super funny. But the... yeah, we can talk about that if you want. He was wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course he was.
He was just mistaken. He was not wrong.
I mean,
he was sadly mistaken.
Sadly mistaken. It was ever so sad. But, it's like I can say things now in the same tone and in the same way. But because I stepped so far back, and he's really come to see his kids for kind of just who exactly they are. He just, now he's like, not only does he doesn't even get mad at me. He's like, you're pretty much right. And sometimes he even said these things himself. He's like, my kid's so manipulative today. And I'm like, oh, that came out of your mouth, not mine. I'm just saying. I am just saying.
Yeah. And I think too, once you're with somebody for so long, they realize that where you're coming from is not out of hate. Exactly. It's just out of love or concern or, something like that. And I think that's where a lot of the problems are in the beginning.
Primarily concern.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really do. The stepmom can feel like she hates the stepkids. They hate her. The in-laws hate everybody,
Oh, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Everybody.
Except the dog. Everybody loves the dog.
Oh, they don't even really like my dog that much, but it's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need them to like that.
Yeah. So you've had a fairly easy, would you say?
I would
blend.
say. Yeah. I mean, I think that probably I can attribute most of it, honestly, to the fact that I don't have kids and that was just not ever going to be a concern. I don't have to worry about a lot of the same things that people do who I think bring either their own kids in or have together kids. I knew I was never going to have to worry about that. And I also I think mine was easy because, I mean, we certainly had issues. There were definitely some really crazy nights up in this house with 2 kids with ADHD and one kid with oppositional defiant disorder, and, you know, a husband who is a yeller. But I think because of how I am too, might have made it a little bit easier, because I definitely am kind of a boundary setter. So I set pretty firm boundaries, both with his kids and with him, kind of at that, and with their mom. Like, she wasn't going to play me. So I think because everyone kind of knew exactly where I'm set, my boundaries are firm, they're constant, and I keep to them. And it's sort of like comforting. They kind of know where they can mess, where they can't mess, and just exactly what the consequences are going to be if they tried me. So it might have been a little bit just laying the groundwork too.
You have to set boundaries, because if you don't, people will walk all over you.
Oh, yes. Well, people will treat you how you allow them to treat you.
Exactly.
I do not play. So you can ask any kid who's ever been in my classroom or any of my clients. They will tell you, and their parents, I don't play.
So have you applied to be the nanny TV yet?
I do a lot of that, but no. I feel like I don't want to wear one of those little costume uniforms on the television, though. I mean,
oh, yeah,
it'd be like more true. Of a Nanny Joe type thing, not a Nanny 911. So,
Rebeccah, you talked about you having some expectations early on that were kind of out of whack, which they're only out of whack because we know on the flip side of things, you know, years later, that they were incorrect. Going into it, they feel like it's absolutely the correct expectations to have. So what about your husband? What was his expectations of you out of whack, or did he kind of let you do whatever you wanted to do?
I think that, you know, it's funny because he never came out and actually said, here's what I want you to do as my kid's stepmom. He just sort of let me do my thing. And so I think maybe that helped avoid some conflict, but it also, I was just thinking the other day about this too. And it kind of, you know, 15 years later came to the realization, like, all this stuff and all those expectations, that was all me. Like, he did not expect me to clean up after his kids. He did not expect me to cook for them. He didn't expect me to help them with their homework or anything. I was not the free babysitter. I was not the free maid. I was like never any of those things. So when I did I didn't like outright Nacho Supreme, but I think that he kind of figured out that I was getting burned out of certain things. And then there was like a little couple of times here and there that like their mother and I didn't see eye to eye. And I kind of was just like, well, fine. If she wants to sit that way, then I'm just gonna, the best one ever was, I'm a vegetarian. My husband is not. But like for me personally, in the beginning of things, just for an example, it was like really important to me that we eat a family dinner. And so I'm like, okay, fine. If that means that I need to cook it and all that, we're all going to eat the same thing. And so we have to make a vegetarian meal. And then their mom caught wind of it and she accused me of trying to turn them vegan. And I'm like, well, I'm not even a vegan, but you know what? If she wants to be that way, I'm just going to not cook anymore. And then we'll avoid all that conflict. And that's what happened. So it's sort of like one thing at a time. But then, you know, it just sort of started chipping away. Like I had to figure out things like, well, I have really high expectations that they're going to get good grades, for instance, but I'm the only one doing anything about it. So they're not my kids. I need to let that go. And it was just bit by bit, little by little, thing by thing, realizing, well, if it's not important enough for their parents to do something about it, I am not going to have to worry about it anymore because I'm the only one. If it only matters to me, then, and I'm going to be the one like killing myself trying to make it work or make it happen, it's not even going to work because then they're going to go back to their mom's house and go back to whatever she's doing. And, you know, like we said earlier, I can't control what goes on over there. So
no, you can't. And one thing that we always tell people is we say you can't expect more than the bio parents. Well, you can, but it's not going to do you any good.
Exactly.
It's going to cause you problems. Yep. It's going to make you be the bad guy. Oh, yeah. You're going to be the, you know, drill sergeant. You're going to be all these bad things because you feel like you care more than the parent.
Right. Well,
and guilty parent syndrome is real.
Oh, so real. It's ever so real. I mean,
it is.
And it's easy for me to say, as someone who does not have any kids, you know, oh, I would never do that, or I wouldn't. I just base it on like how I treat the kids who I work with, but I have no clue. And I know exactly what his thought process is because he actually goes through it with me out loud. And I can like see sort of the gymnastics of the guilty parent coming through and all this. But at this point, you're right. It's sort of just like, I don't even care about being the bad guy, to be honest. Like, I almost enjoy it. But I'm just like, you know what? That's right. I am the wicked stepmother and I will own it. Thank you very much.
Watch me.
Excuse me, darling, but yes. And but, you know, it was so aggravating to me. And I was so annoyed just perpetually. And I, you know, like some other things, I came to realize no one is doing this to me but me. I'm the one.
Amen. Again.
He's not stressed out about it. Cool.
We create our own misery.
Yeah. And that's really what I was doing for quite some time, up into about the last couple of years. And they, you know, we're kind of to the point now, you know, they're 17 and 19. So I'm at the kind of the end of the road. I mean, obviously, as long as I'm with him, they're going to be my stepkids, regardless of how old they are. But yeah, I mean, they're older. The 19-year-old really isn't even in the picture anymore. So like that life without oppositional defiant disorder in it is a lot more peaceful. You know, it's unfortunate for my husband that he really doesn't see his kid. And it's kind of sad, but you know, it is what it is. And the 17-year-old's kind of getting ready to launch and he's out doing his own thing and he's got friends and a job and he's getting ready to go to college and all this. So, you know, I never thought I'd say this, but it's been so much easier with them being as teenagers. So they're just so much more independent and they're going to do their teenager thing.
Yeah. And it's easier to bond with them a little bit too, if you try, you know, if you want to.
Yeah. I mean, you know, whereas maybe before I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to re-engage with these kids. Not ever. Not ever. But I mean, there is a chance for the 17-year-old. He's got to grow up and move away. but
right.
There's a chance.
So you've been married for 10 years.
Yeah. Together for 15.
Right. Together for 15. So one question I would think a listener may want to understand is how or when did you start nachoing? Because some people that are nachoing, they're kind of finding this in year 2 and 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. And they listen to somebody who's like, oh, I'm 10 years in and I've just started nachoing within the past year or two. Ooh. And that may freak them out because they're like, oh my God,
there's very few people that are made at 10 years that are starting to nacho though.
Right. There are.
It's normally year 2 or 3 that the bad happens and they don't really seek help until it's really bad.
Right. Yeah. So what year were you in when you started doing this?
Oh gosh, I'll have to think back. I mean, like I said, I didn't nacho Supreme right away. That was definitely when I had absolutely had it. And I was just like, I just can't even anymore. I think I first started kind of creeping in those waters. I want to say it was maybe, it was probably about, I would say a year, anywhere between year 2 and 4.
2 and 4.
I can't remember outright because it didn't start happening. It definitely didn't start happening until we moved in together, which was we'd been together for 2 years before we moved in together. So it was probably because we didn't live together for the first few years. I would say probably year 4, probably about year 4.
Okay.
I'm going with that. Let's go with 4.
that sounds about right.
Yeah. So this kind of brings up another question that we get asked a lot too, which is once I start doing this, how long am I going to have to do it? Mm-hmm. And
as long as you need to.
And it's really kind of like saying, well, if I start working out today and I get the body I want, how long do I have to keep working out?
Oh, I know about both of those things. So the answer is forever. No. The answer is until I can't do it anymore.
Until you find a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a better way.
Right, or a better way. I mean...
Yeah, you definitely don't revert.
No. You try not to anyway, but...
that's true.
Little slip-ups now and then, but...
Well, like I said, after so long, it's I think it's accepted more, even with the stepkids. If one of them's getting ready to leave and I say, be careful, it's taken completely different than it was a couple years ago when I told them to be careful.
I mean, I'll tell you, it's it's funny because it's so, I mean, I am definitely stubborn as stubborn could be. And for me, like, I really went in with the mentality when I started, like, if I have to do this forever, I am willing to go the distance. And I mean, Nacho Super Supreme with jalapenos and cheese, 8 different kinds of cheese. But I did.
You definitely have to have the I won't give up.
I do not. I don't give up and I do not play. But I like sort of just bit by bit, little by little. Like the 19-year-old is a whole other story. That's just him. I will never, unless he completely changes. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're dealing with a legitimate personality disorder at this point. But and I'm not being, hyperbolic or anything. I really think he has one. The 17-year-old now, if he wants to come to the movies with us, I'm okay with it. So that to me is kind of like a big step, because before I'm like, no, I don't even want, I don't want. If I want to go out and do something, we're going to do it on the weekend that the kids are not here. And I just want to do it with you, honey. And this, that, and the other. I don't want to do it. But now
I don't want to deal with it.
I don't want to deal with it. I just don't. And I don't want to go out in public with these kids and everyone's going to think I'm their mom. And they're just wilding out. I just don't want that. I'm not trying to claim them, but
it was amazing how many times people would look at Lori and go, "Oh my God, you've had 5 kids. You look amazing to have 5 kids."
Yeah.
Yeah. I always get this.
We were in the Bahamas and this lady said something about, you be nice to your mama or something like that. And they like, should we tell her?
Right.
Should we tell her?
Oh.
Whereas, when they were little, it'd be like, she ain't my mama.
Yeah. No, it was actually at some point, it was who was going to say it faster, me or the kids, when like we would go out to dinner or whatever it was, because going out for food was like the one thing I just never gave up because I like food a lot. And they would behave in public for me because they knew that I did not play that. Because before I started Nachoing, I established with them that they were not going to play. So, because I give...
Or they wouldn't go.
You guys be good or else there will be dire consequences. And I do not make empty threats.
Punch you in the face with a carrot.
With a carrot?
If you aren't going to act right, go sit in the car.
You are rough.
Just go sit in the car until you're done. But
sit in the car in a 90-degree heat and sweat to death.
No, I would stand there. I would stand there with the door open. But
I'd stand there with the door open.
I'd stand there with the door open to make sure they didn't run, of course.
Would you stand there with the door open, or would you ask your husband to stand there with the door open?
Pre-Nacho, that was all me. I did that. I did that once in front of him, my brother-in-law, and my parents-in-law. And I'm like, oh, fine, no one else is going to do anything about this, so here I go. But
ooh, girl,
that's when everybody stopped messing. But
I bet your husband loves that you nacho.
He does.
He's probably like, "Oh, thank you. I don't ever have to deal with that again."
Like he never fought it. He didn't.
No, if men are smart, they won't fight it.
He never ever fought it. But we would definitely go out, and I think that's why he felt okay to take the kids out to dinner with me, because I'm like, yeah, this is like the one thing I will still do. And the server would come by, and they would ask him, or they would just ask the ether, "Can we have a soda?" And they'd order a soda, and the server would say, "Well, you might want to ask your mom if that's okay." And it was like, quick shot, who can say it first? And it was usually them going, "She's our stepmom," before I could be like, "Oh, there's his."
Yeah.
Now you can just say Nacho.
Yep. I'm not really 100% sure that my husband actually knows that this is a real thing. I kind of I will say Nacho now and then, and he acts like he knows what I'm talking about. So I don't know, maybe he's done some sort of mystery research behind my back about it.
Why does my wife keep saying Nacho?
Probably what is this? Did she want?
We need to see if that comes up as a Google search.
Yeah. It might.
We had talked about doing, we've talked about doing conferences and things before, and people have said, "Oh, well, let's do a cruise." And I'm like, well, that's great. And then we'll all get drunk and tell your husband about you nachoing, and it'll be wonderful.
Yeah, so
why them drunk people keep saying Nacho?
And he'd probably be like, whatever. It's done now.
Yes,
so.
The Nacho Kids cruise.
Yeah.
That would be a hoot. Could you imagine all those people probably never getting away from their kids and they go on a cruise and
everyone's just falling out all over the place. That's when people like me are like, ooh, these people are escaping their kids. I don't know. Because we're the sober ones.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, shoot. I'm not escaping anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
No, thank you. No, I'm like, God, I have to be the party mom now? Ugh, they're still getting away. I got to be someone's mom.
Yeah.
All right, Rebeccah, so are you ready to enter into the lightning round?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask you 3 very important questions.
I feel like I'm on a game show for real. I need a buzzer.
Should I answer in the form of a question? Yeah.
Like Jeopardy.
Okay,
that might confuse Lori. Don't do that.
Hey, I'm not the only one that gets confused. There's other people that's going to listen to this.
All right. Mm-hmm. So question 1, here we go. What has been the best advice that you've ever received about blending?
Well, it's funny you should ask that because I just remembered just talking to you when I first got into this life. I was actually having dinner with one of my parents' old friends who was also a stepmom, who is a Nacho stepmom, and she'd been Nachoing for like decades. And the first thing she said to me was, well, they're not your kids.
Ooh, hallelujah.
I'm like, what in the world? And I clutched my pearls because I was like, what? But I'm with him. Obviously, they're mine.
Yes.
And no, she's like, and she was borderline snappy. And she's like, no, they're not your kids. You don't have to worry about it. Don't even.
Was her name Mr. Butler? Because that's who kept telling me that day. Everything I would say, he would go, but they are not your kids. And I'd say, but I don't want their teeth to fall out of their head. And he'd go, they are not your kids. And that's all he kept saying.
Yeah, that's what I was like, but they didn't eat any vegetables. And she's like, well, neither did you. And they're not your kids. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. So I was just so taken aback by that. But of course, then I don't know why I didn't even remember that particular incident until today, probably because it was forever ago. But
yeah,
right.
And now I look back and I'm like, dang, she sure was right.
Yep,
she sure was right.
Awesome. All right, so number 2, here we go.
Yep.
So imagine you have a time machine. You're traveling back in time. So knowing what you know now, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your past self about blending?
One piece of just one. I have to choose one. Okay. The one thing.
Did we say one?
And the most important thing probably would be just don't worry about it. Like, just don't worry about it. They have 2 parents. They're both in the picture. They're both involved. And just like whatever they want to do with their kids, they can do with their kids. Their kids are going to turn out however they're going to turn out. That's going to be on them, not on you. And also you should probably eat more vegetables and maybe also floss better. So I would say that's probably it.
All right. So you would tell your past self to floss better, eat more vegetables, and just chill out.
Chill out. Yeah. Take a chill pill, please. Take some chill pills, for God's sake.
I realized once I mastered my nachoing, I would sit and work and they would bring up a suggestion and I would think to myself, that's not the best way to do this. Yeah. And then I would go, well, do I really care enough to tell them?
Right.
As far as, are they going to listen to me? Is it just whatever? And I'll just be like, I ain't saying nothing. I am nacho one of y'all.
Right. Zip it. You can think whatever you want. You can feel however you want. I'm not saying I don't get irritated still to this day. Because like they are just something, you know, they are just something else. And I'm like, wow, okay. But I'm like, I'm going to stay irritated on the inside, I think, and just realize that that's me and that's not them. It's irritating to me because those things are irritating. Whatever it is, it's just irritating to me. And it's not irritating to my husband. It's not irritating to their mom. So whatever. Except for the loud chewing, Lori. except for the loud chewing. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I cannot. No.
In the group, we were talking about the slurping of spaghetti and the loud chewing.
Oh, no.
I got to tell you this. Please, God, don't ever let Papa hear this story. We were at David's parents the other night, and we were getting ready to eat, and it was just my son and I and David's dad. And he takes a bite of this stuff, and he's like, you know. Then he takes another bite. He's like, Well, what's funny is my sister used to do that, and it drove me nuts. And I'm standing there washing my hands thinking, if he does that one more time,
I'm just going to snap.
Yeah. And so I was telling David and my son about it, and we were out to eat, of course. And so they both start going, this is good. Yeah, the eating thing, I'm not kidding. David, am I kidding when I say I would not eat spaghetti with the kids?
No, she would not.
I still won't do it. I still won't do it.
Do not put yourself in situations where you are going to cut up like cheetah.
I am going to just go ballistic if I hear the chewing. And 17-year-old especially is just, I mean, he is a nightmare, wrapped in a nightmare when it comes to, like, literally, he cannot eat a single thing quietly. I'm like,
wow,
here's some soup. Oh no, they're slurping.
Here's a marshmallow.
Good pizza. Oh, it's bad.
Oh, yeah.
You're blinking too loud. Stop.
Right. Why can I hear you? Why?
Oh, my gosh. And cereal.
Yeah. Oatmeal.
The slurping and crunching, the smacking,
yes. God help me. But like, it's just, but again.
She's having flashbacks.
I'm having, like, I'm triggered.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you.
I'm not triggered. I brought it up, though. I did bring it up. So.
Yeah. Okay. So the final question in the lightning round. So this is your opportunity to now help other people. So what would you tell other people that are having challenges in blending? What would be your advice coming from a behavioral therapist?
A 15-year blended.
Yeah. A 15-year blended behavior therapist who gets paid to tell other people what to do. It's like a dream.
Yeah, come on, girl. Give us $1.50 worth.
Okay. Yes. So
$1.05 waiting on you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best. I just want you to get your money's worth, really. So I guess probably what I would say, it seems like a lot of the time when I see things and I read things, it's a lot of, this is driving me crazy. And I understand. I get that. I have things that drive me nuts, like the chewing. But it's also sort of like, I would just encourage people probably to step back. Step all the way back outside yourself. One of the things about being a behavior therapist that teaches you how to just kind of cope better is realizing, oh, you know what? This is one of my triggers. So if this is the thing that's going to push your buttons and you already know it, it's really best to not say anything. To just, if you have to leave the room or the house or whatever it is, to keep from just going ballistic, close the door, whatever. A lot of people have issues with like cleaning and things like that. Close the door.
Plop down in the middle of the floor, strike a yoga pose.
Do whatever. But like, and try it's hard. I mean, it's really hard to ignore things that super, super bug you. But
yeah, the best thing that I've learned is to walk away.
Yeah,
and then
walk away.
That's one of the things that we teach in the Nacho Kids Academy is to, like for February, we had 28 days to change your thinking. Mm-hmm. You have to feed your brain with good things and not bad things. And if on Wednesday, I'm like, oh, crap, them step kids are coming back on Monday. Well, I mean, what do you think your focus is going to be on?
Right. Exactly. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not perfect, but, as someone who's been in it for a while and someone who also is a behavior therapist, you just have to like consciously change your way. Like if I'm the only one in the house who has a problem with the loud chewing, guess what? I'm outnumbered. It's not even like, I will walk away, just walk away and say nothing. I'm not going to start a fight over it. I'm not going to worry about it. It's a moment in time.
You're not going to act snotty about it, because I tried not to use the P word about it when, for 2 hours afterwards. You just let it go. Just let it go.
let it go. I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying that if you practice enough, then it will be easier. And when you realize that it's you and not them, well, you don't have the power to change them, but you do have the power to change you. So, and how you react to situations, right? You know?
Yeah, girl, I know.
Maybe one day you walk out, your spouse is like, why do you keep leaving when this happens? And I'm like, well, I'm glad that you asked because you asked.
Well, wait a minute. You got to remember, part of Nacho Kids is to not say anything negative about stepkids.
Right. No.
So you just have to rephrase that stuff.
Exactly. It's all about presentation. It's all about it's all about the presentation. That's another thing too. You know, I don't come after my husband like, oh, she devil, talking about like, oh, your kids are like so stupid and blah 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 blah. No,
you can't do that.
You know, when you just sit and you're like, wow, that's an interesting choice. How do you feel about that? Or what do you think you and your ex-wife might do about that? I just wonder what's your plan? Do you have a plan or I'm just curious. If you don't, it's cool. It's, you know, whatever you guys decide, it's up to you.
You and her would have a good time mind manipulating me. Y'all be like a ping pong game going, watch, I can make her do this. Watch, I can make her do that. Watch me push this button.
I don't know why you keep saying I play mind games with you.
You do.
It's not mind games. It's behavior modification. Yeah. But see, if I present it as a non-conflict opportunity where it's just, very much put the ball in the parents' court.
Yes.
So it's very much like, you know, that's interesting that you said that, or that's interesting that he did that.
Well, that's a unique way to handle that problem.
What are you going to do? What do you think the plan might be? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah. Do you think they'll look good in orange?
Orange is not my color unless I'm at the Denver Broncos football game, and then it's totally my color, but only for like those 3 hours. Yeah. Sorry you feel that way, honey. Wow, that's a tough situation for you and your ex-wife to deal with.
Exactly.
So, you know, if you want to bounce some ideas off, that's cool. If not, I'm just going to go back to work if that's cool with you. I'm going to just chill. I'll be over here chilling.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you one quick question before we get off here.
Yes.
We know you in Colorado.
Yep. Oh, God. Are you going to ask me?
I know.
Yeah, I am, because you keep talking about being so chill. And I'm like, I got to know. Okay. We don't even have to discuss it any further.
Go ahead.
Those that know will know. No, they don't need to know. We know what we're talking about.
It's a better life through pharmaceuticals.
No, I'm just curious. No, seriously, because, you know, you'll see in stepmom groups, a lot of people they chill and they drink wine a lot. And then, you know, I wonder if step parents in places that offer alternative methods
just say legalize
of calming people, if they have better relationships. Think about it.
You know,
so you're asking her, does she smoke weed?
Well, kind of, yeah. Well, she could eat it too.
Weed? No, I do not. But
do you eat the edibles?
I have.
Do you inject it? Do you snort it?
You're going to cause her to lose her job.
Yeah, I would lose my job so fast.
She'll never be employed again.
Never again.
Hey, be careful about energy drinks. I've read that they can cause false positives on drug tests.
Right. No, I don't do that either. But no, I'm not really into it, and neither is he. But I think that the real key to just the chill. The key to the chill is to just repeat the phrase. Chill. It's really not my problem.
They are Nacho Kids.
Exactly. Just repeat it on repeat in your head. And maybe sometimes you might grind your teeth. And sometimes you're like, I feel like I'm going to get a migraine. But no, it's just, if you repeat it, honestly, nothing matters. It just doesn't matter. I'm not legally obligated to like deal with it. I'm not. If they get in serious trouble,
throw your hands up.
I don't have any legal rights. I don't have any legal rights to these kids when they're growing up. So just go ahead and whatever you want to do, honey. Separate bank accounts if you want to bail them out. I guess that's your money. So separate.
Grandma lives 2 houses down.
separate bank accounts. Oh, you wanted to know what best advice is? Separate bank accounts. That's what it is. So,
well, we might have to talk about that in a different podcast because David and I have never had separate bank accounts. So that would be interesting to talk about too.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a note.
We've done a lot of things differently. Even in my previous marriage and raising the kids, one thing that...
What are we talking about?
one of the things, talking about doing things differently. Like I never did Santa Claus with my kids the same way everybody else did. So I never told them there was a Santa Claus that was real and all that. I mean, they knew there was a Santa Claus, but I never went down that path with them that,
Sure.
And I got crucified for it too when they were younger. But when we got married, Lori and I, we decided to keep our money together and honestly, I just personally, I just felt like if I can't trust you with my money, then we don't need to be married anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then the reason that we did that the way that we did, he's my first husband and my only, but we just there's just things that he doesn't want to pay for that I do. And I just don't want to pay for his kids. And his, he and his ex-wife, I mean, she literally bankrupted them. So I couldn't really blame him for not. I mean, there were times when he brought it up and was like, well, we have a joint account out of which we pay the bills. That's all it's for. We have a joint savings for a rainy day. And then we each have our separate accounts for he doesn't want to pay for my hair appointment and I don't want to pay for his kid's violin. So that's just,
well, no, see, that makes perfect sense because you really have kind of both. You do have joint accounts to pay the bills.
Yeah, sure.
It's not like you say, okay, you're responsible for the power bill and he's responsible for the water bill, because I've seen people cause problems with that.
We tried that and it did not work. I'm like,
because if you're paying the water bill, you're saying your kid got 2.5 seconds to take a shower.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I count 10. We are done.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to find the money that Lori's got hidden in the yard in a jar somewhere.
Right. Get the dog. Get the dog to go dig it up. You can train
There you go.
You can train it to do that.
That dog is trained to help me steal money. What you talking about? She puts it in there for me.
Whoever presents the stronger reinforcer to the dog is going to win. So
yeah, exactly.
What I'm saying, David, is that you need to give the dog 3 biscuits for digging up the yard. That's just what needs to happen.
Yeah, but she'll look like a biscuit afterwards. All right, well, let's wrap this up. It has been absolutely wonderful talking with you, Rebeccah, and I did make some notes so we can have you back on later and discuss different bank accounts.
Oh, yes, different
and not wanting to pay for your stepkids.
I'm not willing.
Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah.
Well, we are very glad to have you as a guest on our podcast, and congratulations on being one of the few that survived the blend.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right. We will talk with you later.
All right.
Until next time.
Yep. Till next time.
Well, David, I don't know about you, but I think that was a pretty good interview.
Of course it was. I thought the whole behavioral therapist thing was really interesting.
Oh, you didn't know?
No.
Since we have recording with her, this recording with her.
Yeah.
She has gotten her board certification to be a behavior analyst. Woo! Congratulations, Rebeccah. We're proud of you.
So now she don't have to therapy. She can analyze.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
And people will pay her to analyze their behavior. We're going to keep her in touch with her.
I know.
Yeah. She can help us analyze your behavior.
I do this for free to you all the time.
You need to do it to yourself.
Look at him.
Look at him. And I love how in the beginning, family dinners were so important to her. Mm-hmm. And she had to let it go. Oh, yeah. She had to let that go.
We did the same thing.
Yeah.
We did the same thing. Remember, we went and bought a new table for family dinners that seated 100 people.
No, there were 7 of us.
Uh-huh.
And the table you had only fit
4.
6.
6.
So we had to get a bigger table.
I know.
But we got a great deal on that table.
We didn't have to get a bigger table because we never all sat there well, we tried to. It started out that way.
Well, I thought y'all always had family dinner together.
Yeah, until we got married.
Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm confused. I swear I think I live in the Twilight Zone sometimes.
How do you know this is reality?
It's not.
Are you sure?
It's your perception and my perception, which is not reality, either one of us, technically.
It's reality twice removed.
I don't know what that means.
All right.
I heard something the other day about quantum physics.
Oh, gosh.
And I started wondering, what is quantum physics? And I thought about it, and I came up with a great explanation in my head without Googling it. But I'm not going to tell y'all what it is because I can promise you it is not right.
Well, as soon as I stop this recording, we're going to
Google quantum physics.
I want to hear your part of it. That's going to be hilarious.
No, we can't share my stupidity with the world much more than we already have. But it was great talking to Rebeccah, and we are thankful to have guests like her that will share their stories to help other step families to succeed in the blend.
Yeah. And if you're a stepmom or stepdad and you would like to be featured as a guest on the show, and reach out to us. Maybe we can get you on the show. No promises, but maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are interested, then reach out to us contact us at nachokids.com.
Woo!
Again, contact us at nachokids.com.
Awesome.
Great. All right. So for Lori and myself, peace out.
Hasta la pasta.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nacho Kids Podcast. Find us online at nachokids.com. Until next time, remember, life is good when you nacho.